So Ancaps on YouTube, it seems to be like, for the most part, there's some exceptions, right? You have Michael Malice and Linked Unithar. But for the most part, like most of the ANCAP YouTubers at this point seem to be of the cartoon variety, like Mr. Dapperton, and then people who are copying him, like Esoteric Entity, Atomic ANCAP, which we're going to talk about in just a second, the Voluntarist Consumer.
You mean they're
literal cartoons?
Okay, so that's their content is like a cartoon character.
Yeah, and it's not a cartoon. It's not like Freedom Tunes, which Freedom Tunes good. I like Freedom Tunes. In fact, he's a co-host on the
great.
Yeah, he's a co-host on the podcast. Seamus is. But that's actual cartoon. That's actually animation. What they're basically doing is just ripping off the Armored Skeptic. Now, Mr. Dapperton, I don't like his channel. Like, I consider him like an online friend. He's a really good friend, but we have this agreement that I'm not a big fan of his, or he has an understanding rather that I'm not a huge fan of his channel, and he's okay with that. So I can say this. But he's basically kind of like a clone of Armored Skeptic. The people who are also ANCAP cartoon YouTubers are copies of him. Now, I don't know if you've seen Multiplicity.
I like pizza. I like it.
But if you have a copy of a copy of a copy, the second generation tends to get a little degraded, so to speak. Not all. I mean, Hoodie Demon's okay. But a lot of them are just really just cancerous, and even more so now they're listening to one particular one who seems to have a problem reading. Like it seems as though like he reads something, he picks out the big words and then fills in the rest with whatever he wants. And we kind of see other people repeating this stuff. And I wanted to talk about this video that I saw, and I've left comments in the description discussing with him why I think this video is trashed here. And it's called Does Fiat Currency Have Value? By Atomic ANCAP. And I'm not going to pin this on him because he's a really smart kid. Like when he started his channel, he seems like he knew what he was talking about. He was reading some stuff, maybe not completely in-depth stuff. But now it just seems as though he's just regurgitating stuff from some other YouTuber who is trashed here. I mean, absolute trashed here.
Yeah.
So this video, I got you to watch it. What did you think of it? Like, I asked you what you thought of it already, and I didn't give my input on it. I just told you where I think he got this idea from. What did you think of it, and what's wrong with it, or what's right with it?
The cartoon ninja that appears in the video, I'm not really a super fan of, but like you said, we're not going to go after the kid for this.
Yeah, right.
He seems like he's a smart kid. You're right. And though it was, I wouldn't say everything in it is wrong, but it was like the entire time I was watching, I was like, okay, wrong. This idea that fiat currency doesn't have value, and that's why we get inflation, but is willing to pay a price for something, and they do that. If whether that's exchanging, fiat currency for something or something for fiat currency, that means that they do value that good. I mean, that's they subjectively have placed importance upon it.
Okay.
He's wrong. He's not wrong that, fiat currency is not a great thing. Right. And we should hope that things like, hard currencies or cryptocurrencies or some other solution comes around for fiat currencies. But the economics portion of it was horribly, in my opinion.
So you cut out. What was that?
Economics.
Oof.
Oh shit.
That was me. That was me.
Back in.
I was trying to edit the bit rate of this thing, and I actually went into the other room. Let me just lower the bit rate a little bit, so that way we kind of lose a little bit of latency. Okay. And maybe, because I think it is me. I'm gonna try moving the server over closer to me. But all things considered, my connection has been absolutely fantastic compared to what it has been over the last couple of times I've tried using Discord, because I found out what the problem was. But okay, try that again.
Yeah, so I found that the kind of economics portion of his video to be completely lacking. And it's just, fiat currencies do have value. They are, and making a distinction between, I think he said it was like between money and currency, I think is kind of pointless when you get into like different aspects of the money supply and whatnot. So I don't think that introducing new terms really matters. He seems, I mean, if he's an ANCAP, it seems like he's kind of going in the right direction, but I think that probably sitting down and doing some reading, getting out a copy of Man, Economy, and State, and if he's gonna use words like marginal utility and whatnot, he should know what they mean.
Right, and that was pretty much a lot of the kind of criticism that I had, is that it seems as though he was using marginal utility wrong, and it almost sounded like a word salad.
Yes, it was very word salad.
He said that governments doesn't create value, which I agree, because they lack marginal utility, and I was just baffled. Like, what does that mean? Like, do governments just not have a problem where each new addition of a good or money diminishes with each new unit of it? I don't think that's true. I think they do see it diminish over. I mean, there are actors inside of the state, right? So I don't know.
Another portion of it, like when he's talking about, he brings up a supply and demand graph, where he was saying that, the point where they intersect is, it's like, well, that's not even necessarily the case. That's the equilibrium price. That's the market clearing price. Mm-hmm. But you can still have higher and lower prices, above or below the equilibrium. It's just that won't be the market clearing price, which is why prices shift all the time, because we're constantly chasing equilibrium, and equilibrium is constantly moving and adjusting through new circumstances, through new introductions of more supply, less supply, people's preferences changing, all of these things. So I just kind of feel like this kid needs to kind of, I don't know, do a little bit more homework and really learn these things.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah. So that was pretty much what I said, is that like money doesn't really get its value from supply and demand. Sure, it affects it. Same thing with marginal utility. It does affect it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to what people find valuable, it's completely subjective. Like I like if you gave anybody a Blu-ray copy of The Matrix, they would find that very valuable. They would enjoy that. If you gave that to me, I would have no value for that thing. And we've talked about reasons why. And a lot of people disagree with me with that, but that's okay, because it's my subjective opinion, right? I've seen a video.
You're wrong opinion, but it's fine.
Whatever. And people would have that same kind of view if they had a Blu-ray copy of Freddy Got Fingered. They would find that completely worthless. But I would not only find it valuable, I'd find it immensely valuable, because it has not been released on Blu-ray, and I think that's a crime against humanity. But you can see that, like, I would have most people, I think if the average, or if you look at the market on the aggregate and say, like, what would people find more valuable? More people would find a Chase shirt more valuable than a Milton Friedman shirt, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's objectively true.
Right, yeah. So it's
historically.
So it really comes down to, like, personal preferences. Now, if we're going to talk about, like, objective value, which we're talking about market prices, then we're talking about, like, the aggregate of what people buy and sell goods for at any particular moment. You find the average of that price, and that's the market price for something, and that's an objective price for it, right?
Price, but it's not, that doesn't mean that it's an objective value. It's just that's
right
literally the price that people paid.
Yeah. So but they would
it's
call
historical data,
right? Market value, I think that's what they would call it. They'd kind of use those terms interchangeably.
Yeah, but at that point, if you're talking like market value, or like talking about valuations of assets, things like that, that's not that word value is not being used in the same way as it is in the context of like marginal utility.
And it seems as though he kind of bounces between that two a little bit in that video. He kind of conflates the two. And I was very clear. I was like, okay, so let's take this kind of example. If you consider, if you're talking about like personal evaluation, then no, you're wrong, because just the fact that you would be okay taking $1,000 from me, and you'd be more than happy to take $1,000 from me, and you would use it or you would save it. and you would not discard it or refuse it, but by definition, you value it. End of story. If you didn't, you would say,
a computer that I'm sure was purchased with money.
Right. I mean, so everybody finds value in currency for whatever reason. The state making you take it, state mandatory that you be paid in it, whatever. People still find value in it. Even
and it's still the most marketable good. It is the medium of exchange, Yeah. Even if it's an inferior one and one that has been forced upon people, it still is money.
Yeah. But yeah, like even still, there's a lot of libertarians who are very much against Federal Reserve notes and the central bank and stuff, who in addition to taking things like Bitcoin and gold, will say, I'll also take Federal Reserve notes for donations, which legal tender laws don't say that, you have to take, if you're going to take donations, you have to take it in whatever. It just says that if you are selling a good or service, you have to also take it for Federal Reserve notes. You can take it for anything else too, but you also have to take it for Federal Reserve notes because it's good for all debts, public and private, period.
Public and private, correct.
Yeah. So yeah, no matter how you look at it, no matter what kind of term you're using for it, like empirically, you look at market data and say, look, people are exchanging Bitcoin for Federal Reserve notes. There's a market value. People have value in it. End of story. If you're going to say that it's a personal thing, just the fact that you would take $1,000 from me shows that you would, that you find value in it a priori. So no matter how you want to slice it up, yeah. So I mean, but this is kind of like what's going on with YouTube at the moment in terms of Ancaps, is that you get people who are just regurgitating like bad ideas, rehashed ideas. And I remember back in the day, like I used to complain about how libertarians used to talk a lot about how you don't have to pay federal income taxes because look at this 806 loophole, or, if you write it in red crayon, or look how it's all in caps.
Like the correct incantation with the correct symbols, written in the blood of a hen around you, then you're magically exempt.
Yeah. The red crayon thing is my favorite tax protester thing. If you write your a letter back in your tax return and you write it in red crayon and say that I'm not liable for federal income tax, you're magically free from it. Or a 9/11 truth.
I never heard that one.
Yeah. Oh, that one's great. There's a website called the Red Crayon. I don't know if it's still up. It's been shoddy, but it was called Red Crayons, and it documents all the attempts by tax protesters and to try to get out, and they're all like in jail or facing some sort of legal process because of it. It's so funny. But anyways, that's what they used to be wrong about all the time. It's just like, look at the state's kind of code and you can get around it this way. Or, they were wrong about, or conspiracy theories, or, but usually never about their own ideology, right? They were usually kind of good about like, oh, no. The non-aggression principle or economics, they used to be pretty good at that. Now it's just like they're wrong about everything. I don't know what's happening. It's all kind of falling apart. Yeah. And I miss the days where it was like there was you and Junior Bacon Chi and me and Jacob Spinney and Exomniverse, and we're all making videos about things, and they were all kind of interesting, and they went in very interesting directions. But now it's just like fiat money has no value. Facebook doesn't make any revenue. They have to take all of the money from the state, like just factually inaccurate claims all the time. That's where we're going.
That sucks.
Yeah, but I will say this: like, there's a few that don't. Mr. Dapperton tends to be more kind of like the clickbaity type stuff. Like he's more interested in talking about like, oh, here's this leftist YouTuber that says something stupid, or here's Antifa being shitcocks, or look at these stupid challenges. Like the boiling water challenge. Have you heard about this? It's sort of like this sort of thing.
Snow.
Right? No,
Is this where they go out in really cold weather?
No, it's where they take boiling water and splash it on themselves as a YouTube challenge. Like, how like people used to take spoonfuls of cinnamon. Now they're taking mouthfuls of Tide Pods and splashing boiling water on them and having to get skin grafts because their fucking skin melted off. So that's what the kind of stuff that he covers.
Let Darwin sort this out.
Yeah. So that's what basically he talks about, is like, look how stupid these people are. Hoodie Demon seems to be kind of talking more about like, look at these lefties saying stupid shit. And then there's a group of people who think that they understand economics, and they don't. And they
don't
talk about things
that's
that they
unfortunate.
don't understand. And then other people take that and then run with it and make videos of their own and explain things wrong. And then I have to go and hear these things and going like, oh, you libertarians think that fiat money has no value. It's like, no, I don't.
See, I'm sitting here and I'm like, no. I would have been like, God, someone's got to do something about this. And I would have, that's like, the old me would have been like, go make videos and correct these people and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Yep, but that's the state of YouTube Ancaps at the moment. And I wish more people would make more stuff. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm done trying. We're done.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, I'll just drag him on my podcast and we'll talk shit, and that's about it.